Cash flow issues certainly can occur at any size. And I'd say more than half of the businesses that reach out to me on a daily basis are probably in need of a turnaround. So you're not alone. I really want you to understand that. Welcome back to the E-Hustle. I'm Paul Waddy. As always, if you like the E-Hustle, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, all that sort of stuff. It really helps. So today we're going to dive into a question that I get all the time. Why is my business always struggling with cash flow? And the short answer is you're spending more than you're making, right? So just everyone should understand that, but let's break that down. Your business is running out of money because you're spending more money than you're making. So that's the whole issue as to why sales isn't everything, because your sales could be $1 million a month, but if you're spending $1.1 million a month, then you're losing $100,000 a month. Now, you could still be profitable and losing cash, so we're going to tackle that today as well. So let's dig a little bit deeper than just saying you're spending more money than you're making. However, let's also just remind people that your job in business is to accumulate cash, not just accumulate sales. In fact, it's primarily to accumulate cash. And if you're spending more money than you're making, how can you possibly achieve that goal of building cash? You can't. Right. So we've all been there. If you've been in business, there's a fair chance that you've run out of money or that you've had cash flow issues from time to time. No surprise, it happens. And it's actually really, really common. I've been through it. You've probably been through it, especially if you're listening to this podcast. There's a fair chance you might be going through it now. So whether you're just starting out or whether you're doing $3 million a month, I've seen it all before. Trouble doesn't discriminate. Cash flow issues certainly can occur at any size. And I'd say more than half of the businesses that reach out to me on a daily basis are probably in need of a turnaround. So you're not alone. I really want you to understand that. So, right, let's dive into it. When a business is struggling, what does that mean? It usually means one of two things. Either you're running out of money in the bank or you're losing money on paper. Neither situation is good. As I said before, you can still have a profitable business on paper that doesn't make any money in your bank account. And the most important KPI in business is your bank account. We're going to come back to that soon. So technically, you could be profitable on paper and still have an empty bank account. And if that's you, the chances are you're overspending on stock. Now, we've seen that a lot. Let me break that down again. You can be profitable on paper, but run out of money. Because when you buy stock, it doesn't hit your profit and loss statement as an expense. It hits your balance sheet as an asset, and it hits the P&L as an expense when you sell it through cost of goods sold. So you could have this really profitable company and have no cash to show for it. Now, there are a couple of traps that businesses fall into when they run out of money or when they're heading towards cash flow problems. And let's talk about the first one. The first trap is sales, which is the false profit. Now, hear me out. We often think I just need to sell more. But 99% of the time, more sales are not actually the solution to your struggling business. Why? Because you're already trying so hard to grow the sales. You're spending big on stock, you're spending big on ads, you're discounting heavily, and you're already squeezing every sales lever that you can. That's most businesses. Most of you know the sales levers. Most of you are already pulling the sales levers. So why aren't they working? Because sales is usually not the reason that your business is struggling. When you're in financial trouble, time's critical. You don't have months to wait. You don't need a slow burn strategy. So when you're low on profit or specifically cash, you've got to take action swiftly. Don't delay. And there are two things that you can do. Firstly, to increase profits. And the two things that you can do to increase profit are, one, increase full price sales, or two, cut costs. That's it. That's what you can do to increase profit. Do you know the initiatives that increase full price sales? Do you know the initiatives or where to cut costs? That's what you need to learn. Now, to improve cash, there's also two key factors. And guess what they are? One, increase sales, or two, decrease costs. It's the same thing. So which one do I prefer? It's easy, cost control. Because there's a saying, control the controllables. Now, we all like to think we can control sales, and some people will tell you can, but you can't. There are macroeconomic factors like tariffs at play. There are interest rates at play. There's consumer demand. There's entry by Temu and Shein. You can't control sales. You can influence sales and try to grow them as much as you can, but you can't turn a lever and dial up sales on a whim. But so many people tell you you can. You can't. What you can control is what's leaving your wallet. You can control the costs. So remember, one of my favorite sayings, control the controllables. So there's the truth. Cutting costs is the better option. It's the easier option. And when you're losing money, when you're bleeding money, you don't have time. So what are you going to do? Someone's going to tell you to, increase your storytelling or ramp up your ads. But ramping up your ads is spending more money. Increasing your storytelling is a fluffy marketer's thing to do with my marketing hat on, but it takes time. I'm sure you've already been doing that. But when your neck is on the line, and I've been there, you've got to take action quickly, and the action is on your costs. Because you can't control sales, you can influence them. And because your margins, there may be wiggle room in your margins, you're not likely to stem the loss of cash because margins take time to wash through on your P&L, right? So what often you need to do is just dial into your costs, right? So if you cut rent, if you cut wages, if you cut unnecessary expenses, that's a big win because one, you improve your cash flow, but two, you've also improved the profitability of the business, which therefore increases the asset that you have because businesses are valued on a multiple of profit, not revenue. Despite what you might have read about certain success stories, the reality is businesses in e-commerce are valued on a multiple of their net profit or EBITDA. Right, so if you go on sale, what happens? If you go on sale, you cut cash, you stop that. So what about going on sale? Yeah, sometimes you have to. And I call that, brands that work with me will know that's paying for past sins. Sometimes we have to do that to rectify the balance sheet, but it's not a long-term solution because you damage your brand, you lose margin, and you're probably stuck in the same situation in a few months because you haven't got to the root cause of why you keep running out of money. So I get it. Sometimes you're desperate. And if you have to run a sale, go into Shopify and target your grade C stock. Grade C stock is your slowest moving stock. You can go into Shopify Sidekick and say, what's my grade C stock? Or look at the ABC analysis in Shopify. That grade C stock only contributes 5% of your total revenue. So go into your Shopify accounts now, go into the ABC analysis and tell me, what does your grade C stock look like? Is it 20% of your holding? Is it 50? Is it 70%? I reckon for most of you, most of your stock will be grade C stock, contributing 5% to your sales. You could burn that stock and lose 5% of your daily sales. So use the ABC analysis, health check your business on that one now. But here's the long-term strategy that I'd recommend if cash flow continues to be an issue for you, if you just keep running out of money. One, take a short-term one-off hit. Okay, so what I mean by that is get your stock down. I'm going to say if you're running out of money, you're overstocked. You're going to be on too much inventory cover. I've talked about in previous podcasts how to work out how much inventory a business should hold. Yep, there's a formula for it like most things. So what I want you to do first is get your stock levels down to about 12 weeks, give or take. I'm just creating a broad rule. If you want to know more, reach out to me on Instagram about how much stock you should be holding. We coach brands on that. But for now, I want to say get your stock down to 12 weeks or as close to as possible. So what I mean by 12 weeks is if I'm making, I don't know, $100,000 a week and I need to have stock for the next 12 weeks, that's called 12 weeks cover, then I need 100,000 times 12, 1.2 million, right? I need to have 1.2 million worth of stock. So look at your next 6 months, your next 12-week sales and work out, have I got enough to last the 12 weeks? The chances are many of you will have way more than that. If you've got way more than that, that's contributing to your cash flow problem. Try and bring it down to 12 weeks. Now, how do you do that? Run a sale. Now, most of you will know that I say, don't go on sale, but that's when to go on sale, right? Not to drive revenue in good times. You go on sale to rectify your balance sheet. So that's how it's always been. So you need to clear that inventory down, and we're in reset mode here, right? So we're rebuilding. We're not worrying about scaling. We're rebuilding the foundations of your business. So get the inventory holding down as close to 12 weeks as you can. Yep, it's going to hurt. Yep, your margins will suffer, but do it once and move on. We're paying for past sins, okay? So that's when to discount. 2, after you've done that, keep your inventory really tight. Only order what you need to maintain 12 weeks worth of stock or an appropriate level of cover based on your sales. I'm not going to go into cover now, but I have done other podcasts where I explain the formula for how much cover to hold. So know the formula and lock it down, okay? Now, then the third step is to cut your operating expenses. Simple. Now, what I want you to do is roughly aim for this structure, right? broadly speaking, some of you are going to be more, some of you are going to be less. Paid media, aim for 15% of your monthly net sales. If you've got higher margins and whatever, sure, you could spend 20. But I'm talking to businesses here who are having cash flow problems, right? So bring that paid media down to 15%. Wages should be around 10% roughly of your monthly sales. Rent should be 1 to 2%, right? But realistically speaking, of your operating expenses, about 55% should go into advertising, about 45% into the rest, mostly into of your operating expenses. Let's say you're running your business on 40% OPEX, 40% of monthly sales, about 55% should go into ads, and about 45% should go into the rest. About 10% of total revenue should go into wages. Okay, so that's really it on an expense line in an e-commerce business. OPEX is wages and marketing, really. They're the two costs. Unfortunately, they're variable as well, so they go up, but we need to bring them down. Right, so when you buy your stock, the fourth point, when you buy your stock, try and stick to this rule. So spend your COGS times your planned sales. So I'm going to say that again. Try and spend on your stock, so you're open to buy, your COGS as a percentage times your planned sales for the next month. So if your COGS is 70%, if you don't know what your COGS is, you're going to be up against it in e-commerce. Go back through my podcast. I talk about what COGS are. If I've got a $100 t-shirt and it costs me $30, my COGS are 30%. My margin is 70%. So if your COGS is 30% and you plan to do 100,000 in sales next month, then spend no more than 30K on stock. COGS times planned sales, right? Stick to that rule. That's it. Stick to those 4 rules. If you actually do them, you'll start to turn your business around. Finally, know your numbers. Don't say you want the $20 million business without the $20 million financial skills. It won't happen. It won't happen. Now, if your operating costs plus your stock purchases are higher than your sales, you will always run out of money. Let me say it again. If your operating costs plus your stock purchases are higher than your monthly net sales, ex GST, you will always run out of money. Do that simple equation now. How much am I spending on stock each month? What are my operating expenses? Oh, that's more than my sales. Your business will never work. You need to bring those down using the 4 steps that I outlined earlier. So you need a forecast, obviously. Make sure you've got a forecast, because if you don't have a forecast, you're also going to find it really tough to be in business. And you need to forecast before the month starts. So you've got to know that if you're heading for profit or pain, right? Sometimes with businesses, I sit down and we do a forecast and it doesn't look good. That's okay. The first step to turn around is to confront the numbers, whether they're good or they're bad or they're downright ugly. The first step is to confront the numbers. Once you've confronted the numbers, you can make a plan. You can either finish the business up, or you can make a plan and say, well, I see where I've gone wrong. Once you've got your forecast, you can see, well, this is how my business looks, but I can start to work on a plan moving forward. But if you're flying blind and you're not really sure why it's not working, you're headed for big trouble. And if you're a business that keeps taking loans to prop up this cash flow, you're in trouble, because you'll always be in that cycle. And those loans have high interest rates and repayments that will never allow you to get into a cash positive scenario. So you're in a rat race. That's the trap there, right? Very, very hard to break that race, or to break that rat race of borrowing money to fund a business that doesn't work, that doesn't actually generate enough revenue or free cash to pay back the loan. So then the loan's paid off and you borrow it again. And that's the cycle, right? And so just a friendly reminder, you can't buy the Ferrari, you can't buy the holiday house, you can't take the family overseas with sales. It's cash that pays for those things. And if you're literally at the end of your rope, I want you to think about this. What would an administrator do if your business went under? They'll do 2 things. They'll cull your slow-moving stock and they'll cut your costs dramatically. So you already know the playbook. Don't wait for that moment. Get on the front foot and do it yourself. Build a better, leaner business and move forward.